Hey guys, just got trying to put out videos once a week, but I'm having issues with my camera and it won't upload or download or reload or whatever. But anyway, I decided to just do it with my doggone phone. Up here is a 73 Triumph Trail Trophy 500cc. As you can see, I got it pretty much apart. I'm gonna break it down to the frame. I'm not gonna do a whole lot as far as go get it sandblasted and all that crap. I'm just gonna clean it real well and kind of leave the patina on it and just enjoy it the way it is. I actually have a title for this thing, so I can ride it on the road sooner or later. As far as I gotta get the seat reupholstered, the forks seals need to be redone. The headset, I'm sure, needs to be redone. I pulled out the swing arm. That was one big cake of goop, and I'm gonna redo the swing arm bushings and try and clean the rear wheel, clean the hubs, get another rear wheel. I'm not quite sure which way to go with that, if I should try to keep it looking like a trail bike or get a little more aggressive tire. I'm not sure yet. Don't know which way to go with that yet. Not much else to say about this, but it's a really neat bike. I mean, they didn't make many of them. They only made about 2,400. As far as how many were imported into the States, I believe they said around 900 something, and kind of has a cool, still has the original chrome fenders, which are a little banged up. I bent them back, I cleaned them up. The gas tank's original, it's aluminum. It's got the little Jiffy Pop gas cap. The gauges are all originals. As far as mileage, I think this thing has a little bit less than, let's see, what does it say? 4,700 something. So it's not super beat up, and it has good compression. It's got spark. It's a 12-volt system, and the winkers work according to the manual, and it's got the conical front hubs. The frame is a design of a BSA B50 frame. The only difference is I'm not sure if the B50s had internal oil in the frame or not, but basically what they did was they just stuffed a big Triumph, due to BSA being Triumph and BSA and other Matchless, Villier, all conglomerated into one company, or homologated into one company. So, the history on these bikes is cool. They're filling a niche. They were the first to have a 500cc trail bike. Before that, I think Yamaha had a 360 and Suzuki may have had a 400, TS 400. Kawasaki only had a 350, and Honda had its 350 also at the time. So they were going after that trail market, dual sport, and they only went 2 years, 73, 74, and they made 50 or 60 of them in 75. The differences is the 74s was a red tank, and I believe the 75s were blue tanks. And if you ever find one and it's in a little bit of rough shape and it's the right price, buy that thing, because they're rare as you can get. They're kind of neat. Story on the Zunda. That's just a temporary tank I bought to run it. Something's wrong with the front forks. They only go down about an inch and stop abruptly. I don't know if I assembled them incorrectly or something, but I'm going to have to take that back apart. And I got a new project. Look at this baby. It's a 70 Bultaco, what do they call it? The El Matador. And it's just pretty much a static bike. It's just the frame still has the original aluminum fender in the front, the funky clamp on bars. It looks like they're bent though, because they're sticking up in a weird direction. And the frame is all there. It's pretty solid frame. I'm gonna have to take it all apart, take it to a sandblaster, have them sandblast it. What I'm thinking of doing with this one actually is turning it into a Persang, because Bultaco didn't. If the headset on the Persang, it was a little different. Maybe it had a little bit steeper angle on the head steering stem, but other than that, everything else is, the frame it has all the earmarks of what a Persang had. And these were 6-day bikes, enduros, ISDT 6-day bikes, and this one had the Trials front fork on it, because they had the leading axle front forks on these. And, so it was kind of a hybrid, but it did use a Persang frame, and just, I don't know, they just probably went to the parts bin and said, let's try this. And then there's a Harley 76 250. Runs pretty good idling, but under power, it's cutting out, and I'm not sure why it's doing that. If I have a carburation issue or an ignition issue. It's an old ignition. It's actually a Japanese Denso ignition, and Suzuki uses Denso, and some of the parts cross over, and I'm just kind of doing some research into that right now, because otherwise it runs strong in mid-range and stuff. It runs pretty strong, but other than if you're accelerating, it's running pretty strong, but if you're just kind of cruising along, then it's just cutting in and out, really difficult to ride. And it does idle pretty good. I could use a little more adjustment, but I think I'm going to have to open up that Dell'Orto carburetor and see maybe if the emulsion tube is maybe plugged up. That's the only thing I can think of, because I went through that carburetor 3 times, and I had it running once. I had it running really good. It was no issues. The only issue was the breather on the gas cap was causing a vacuum, and the bike would die, and I thought it was a carburetor issue when it was actually the gas cap on the gas tank wasn't letting the air in the gas tank. And this is here's another problem child. I think I'm dealing with just what you call for a bike that's only got 1,200 miles. I'm dealing with a carburetor that just sat around way too long and isn't cooperating any longer. I put a new. This was an anomaly because it's a '69. It was one of those crossover year bikes, and the '68 and lower bikes have a different carburetor. '70 and on bikes had another. This was the only year that this carburetor was actually put on. They look similar, but there's something different about it on the inside. I can't tell you what it is, but all I can say is it just doesn't want to idle. It doesn't want to run properly. And I had it running very good, but it was leaking gas badly. Put a new float in. Put some different parts in it, gaskets, and since then it hasn't ran well since. So that's kind of a issue that I'm having. I did the valves, adjusted the valves. Maybe I'll look at them again. Maybe one of them came loose, and that's why it's not running real well. So this is another project that's on the way. Picked up a couple of Kawasaki's. There's a 1981 250, KX 250, and it was just an I have an 80 also, and this is the next step up from that, and it's just a cool bike. I really like the KXs. And then I have this 75. That's twin shocker, 79 twin shocker. And I love the gold anodized, the way they stylized the bike. It was pretty cool. And then from there we go to there's the Saab. And that's my sob story. This is a KTM's 94 edition. It also has, they did what they call a nickel cylinder. The previous owner just kind of gave up on this thing after he didn't know how to deal with it, so I picked it up for pretty cheap, $500. I could part this thing out and make my money back real easy. This was the year they were white fenders, white gas tank, and blue. I think it was blue, white and blue. And I don't know. I think it'd be just kind of cool.